Maggie the cat is alive. I'm alive. Why are you afraid of the truth? Elizabeth Taylor made one big mistake in 1964. She trusted a reporter with her biggest secrets. For months, they met in hotel rooms and on boats. She'd pour whiskey, light cigarettes, and tell him everything. She thought he was just helping write her life story. She didn't know he was secretly recording every word. 50 years later, those recordings came out. The woman everyone thought they knew had been living two different lives. She even had a name for it, Cellophane Elizabeth. The real story was much darker. Elizabeth Taylor was born on February 27, 1932, in London. From the start, her life was like a movie. Her parents were rich American art dealers. They lived in a fancy Hampstead Garden area and ran an art gallery on Bond Street. They knew famous artists and politicians, including Colonel Victor Cazalet, who became like her godfather. But life wasn't all fun. By 1939, with war coming, U.S. Ambassador Joseph P. Kennedy told her father to get the family out. In April that year, Elizabeth, her mother, and her brother escaped on the SS Manhattan. Her father stayed behind to close the gallery and joined them later. They moved to Pasadena, then Beverly Hills. Soon they were part of Hollywood's social scene. Elizabeth was just 7 when this big move changed her world forever. Even as a little kid, Elizabeth was in the spotlight. At age 3, she started dance lessons. She wasn't just good, she was amazing. She even danced for Princess Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. Few children could imagine dancing for royalty. Her parents' connections made it possible. Her mother had been an actress, and their friends included British high society people. By the time they moved to Los Angeles, people already knew about Elizabeth's talent. A friend suggested a Hollywood screen test, and no one said no. She had performed for princesses before she even got to Hollywood. It was like fame had always and waiting for her dot at age 10. Elizabeth got her first movie role in There's One Born Every Minute in 1942. Universal Pictures signed her for 7 years, but after just one film, they dropped her. They thought she looked too grown-up and wouldn't appeal to audiences. That decision turned out to be a huge mistake. Elizabeth's star power was clear to everyone else. MGM quickly picked her up. Universal missed the chance to work with one of the biggest stars in history. Elizabeth went on to win 2 Oscars and wow fans for over 60 years. Universal's loss became MGM's win. MGM signed Elizabeth in 1943, and it changed Hollywood. When she was 12, she starred in National Velvet in 1944. She played a girl who dressed up as a boy to ride in the Grand National Horse Race. The film was a hit. Elizabeth almost won a Special Young Person's Oscar, finishing just behind Peggy Ann Garner, but the role came at a cost. To play Velvet Brown, she had to follow a strict routine to grow taller. She also fell off her horse during filming badly, hurting her back. That injury stayed with her for life. Still, the producers gave her the horse as a gift. The movie made her a star. MGM gave her a new contract at $750 a week, a huge amount for a child in the 1940s. She was on her way to becoming a legend. When Elizabeth was 18, MGM arranged her first marriage. It was to Conrad Nicky Hilton Jr., the hotel heir. The studio wanted to keep her image clean and sellable. They even bought her wedding dress. But behind the scenes, the marriage was a disaster. Hilton drank heavily and was mean to her. He once kicked Elizabeth so hard that she lost their baby. The marriage lasted only 8 months. She divorced him in January 1951 because of mental cruelty. This marriage destroyed her innocence and showed how studios controlled their stars to make money. Leaving Hilton didn't bring peace. MGM was angry about the divorce. They wanted to protect their image, So they punished Elizabeth. They forced her into a cheap romantic comedy, Love is Better Than Ever. In 1952, it was way below her talent level. The film didn't help her career. The message was clear. Go against the studio and you'll pay. This was how studios treated their biggest stars, especially women. Image mattered more than safety or happiness. But in 1952, Ivanhoe changed things. Elizabeth didn't like her small role in the film, but it became a huge hit in 39 days. It earned $1.3 million. In total, it made $5.8 million in the U.S. and Canada and $5 million overseas. That added up to $11 million worldwide. It was MGM's top moneymaker that year and a hit in England, too. The film got 3 Oscar nominations and 2 Golden Globe nods. Elizabeth's star power was now impossible to deny. Even when she didn't like a role, audiences still rushed to see her. That same year, Elizabeth's personal life was changing again. She married British actor Michael Wilding and was expecting her first child. But money was tight. To stay secure, she signed a new 7-year contract with MGM. They paid her $4,700 a week, which would be over $55,000 a week today. The deal included a loan for a house and work for Wilding, but it also gave the studio even more control over her. Elizabeth wanted better roles, but she had to take what MGM gave her. She was trapped. The contract brought money and stability, but also deeper ties to a system that cared more about profit than the people that owned. Elizabeth Taylor's life in the late 1950s and early 1960s was like a storm no one saw coming. On May 12, 1956, she hosted a fancy dinner at her home in Benedict Canyon. It was supposed to be a lovely night, but everything changed in an instant. Her friend Montgomery Clift left early, just a few hundred yards from her driveway. He crashed his car into a telephone pole. The crash was terrible. His face was crushed. His nose broke. His jaw cracked. Several teeth were knocked out. The news reached Taylor fast. Without thinking twice, she ran barefoot to the wreck. She got there before the ambulance. Clift was choking on his own teeth. Blood was pouring from his mouth. Taylor didn't hesitate. She reached into his throat and pulled out pieces of teeth and bone. She saved his life that night, but Clift's face was never the same. The accident left him scarred forever. Still, her bravery that night became one of the most powerful stories of friendship Hollywood had ever seen. But saving his life wasn't the end of her loyalty. After the accident, Clift's career fell apart. His looks were gone. Studios called him too risky to insure. His growing addiction to painkillers and alcohol made things worse. When MGM refused to cast him in Suddenly Last Summer in 1959, Taylor stepped in. She gave them an ultimatum. Either they cast Clift or she would quit. They panicked. Clift was a risk. So Taylor did something no one expected. She offered her own $500,000 salary as insurance. That was a fortune back then. Because of her, Clift got the part. The film got multiple Oscar nominations, and once again, Taylor proved how far she'd go for a friend. Yet, no matter how hard she fought, she couldn't save him in the end. On July 23, 1966, Clift died of a heart attack. He was only 45. They had planned to work together again in Reflections in a Golden Eye, but that dream died with him. Taylor was heartbroken. She called him her soulmate, the one who understood her best. His death, along with losing her husband, Mike Todd, pushed her deeper into sadness. The guilt, the sorrow, they followed her for the rest of her life. Her battles with addiction and troubled relationships were connected to that pain. Her time with Mike Todd had been her happiest. They married on February 2, 1957 in Acapulco. That year in August, they welcomed their daughter, Liza. Todd showered her with love and grand gestures. He once gave her a diamond so large she wore it as a necklace. He even rented Madison Square Garden for her birthday. But joy turned to tragedy. On March 27, 1958, Todd's plane, the Lucky Liz, crashed in New Mexico. He died instantly. Taylor was 26. The loss crushed her. She collapsed when she heard. She couldn't be comforted. Grief pushed her toward Eddie Fisher, Todd's best friend. That relationship exploded into scandal. Fisher was married to Debbie Reynolds. At the time, America's sweetheart. Taylor was painted as a home wrecker. The press called her a bad girl stealing someone's husband. The nation watched as Fisher left Reynolds for Taylor. On May 12, 1959, just 3 hours after Fisher's divorce was final, he married Taylor, but the marriage was doomed. Taylor later admitted she never loved him. She said he was like a crutch during her grief. Their life together was lonely. She even tried to end it all, swallowing sleeping pills in front of him, desperate to escape. But she survived, and she regretted it all deeply. As things fell apart, Fisher's jealousy turned dark. When Taylor fell for Richard Burton in 1961, Fisher threatened her. More than once he stood over her as she slept, pointing a gun at her head. He whispered that she was too pretty to shoot. He would sit by her with that gun, stroking her arm, repeating the threat whenever she tried to sleep. Finally, she ran away, taking her children and leaving him behind. In 1961, Taylor won her first Oscar for Butterfield 8, but she hated the film. She took the role just to finish her MGM contract. The win felt empty. She believed the Academy gave her the award out of pity. That year, she'd nearly died from pneumonia. She had a breathing tube put in and stopped breathing 4 times. News outlets even reported her death by mistake. When she survived and won, people saw it as a reward for her suffering, not her acting. From 1958 to 1964, Elizabeth Taylor lived through more drama and pain than most people face in a lifetime. The public called her America's most hated woman. Protesters followed her. People sent hate mail and death threats. Signs at Fisher's shows read, "Liz, go home." Through it all, she kept going. She later said, "I am a survivor, a living example of what people can go through and survive." And that's exactly what she was. When Cleopatra hit movie theaters in 1963, it wasn't just a movie. It was a Hollywood earthquake. The budget went up to $44 million, which would be over $426 million today. No one had ever spent so much on a film. It was 3 times more expensive than Ben-Hur. The cost nearly destroyed 20th Century Fox. The chaos behind the scenes matched the craziness of the budget. The first director was fired. Entire sets and costumes were thrown out and made again. Elizabeth Taylor almost died from pneumonia while filming in London. The production had to move to Rome to save her. But what really got the world's attention wasn't the gold-covered sets. It was what happened between Elizabeth Taylor and Richard Burton. On that set, they fell for each other. Their love story became bigger than the film itself. The studio boss, Darryl F. Zanuck, even wrote to Burton, calling them a problem. Audiences rushed to the theaters, not just to see the film, but to witness the passion that had taken Hollywood by storm. That passion helped save the studio from going under. The romance didn't just shake up gossip magazines. It stopped Cleopatra in its tracks. In early 1962, their affair exploded into public view. Both were married at the time. Taylor was with Eddie Fisher. Burton was with Sybil Williams. Then came the photo that changed everything. A shot of them hugging on a yacht in Ischia. The press went crazy. Suddenly, stars couldn't hide their private lives anymore. The scandal was so huge that 20th Century Fox stopped filming. Every day off cost $100,000, a crazy amount. In the 1960s, People on set collapsed from exhaustion. The production manager got so sick he left and died soon after. Burton's diary told of lust-filled nights. He called Taylor an eternal one-night stand. Even when the cameras stopped, they kept kissing as if no one else existed. The affair turned the troubled film into a global sensation and changed the way Hollywood and the press worked forever. The drama didn't stop in Hollywood. The whole world was watching, and many were angry. In 1962, the Vatican's newspaper slammed Taylor. It called her guilty of erotic vagrancy for loving Burton. While still married, it called their affair an insult to the nobility of the home. The outrage made headlines across the world. Some U.S. politicians even suggested banning them from coming back to America because of their moral decline. Their romance became a symbol of freedom and excess at the same time. They had to increase security on the set. Italy's version of the FBI got involved after threats were made against Taylor. But Taylor and Burton didn't back down. Taylor divorced Fisher. On March 15, 1964, just 10 days after her divorce was final, she married Burton in Montreal. The world saw it as both a victory for love and a massive scandal. They were the most talked about couple of their time. Taylor wasn't just making headlines for her love life. She broke Hollywood's pay rules too. For Cleopatra, she became the first actor ever, man or woman, to get $1 million for a single film. And she didn't stop there. She got $50,000 a week in overtime pay. The shoot was supposed to last 16 weeks, but it went on for 2 years. By the end, Taylor had earned nearly $7 million. That would be about $60 million today. She also got a cut of the film's profits. No star had ever done that before. Future actors followed her lead. Taylor's business sense matched her star power. She even negotiated parts of her deal from her bathtub with Eddie Fisher, passing on her demands. When Fox agreed, she celebrated with champagne. She broke the ceiling for women in the film business and changed how stars would get paid forever. Richard Burton's own words, written in his diaries, showed just how obsessed he was with Taylor. He wrote about her beauty in ways that were raw and poetic. He called her fantastically beautiful and spoke of her special and dangerous loveliness. He described her body in detail from her lips to her figure. In one entry, he said she was beautiful beyond the dreams of pornography. He wrote that she was an ache in the stomach when they were apart. He felt she had made him a better man, but admitted he was completely under her spell. The world saw their fiery romance, but his private words showed the full depth of his passion. Elizabeth Taylor stunned the world in 1966. At just 33, she transformed herself for Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. She gained 30 pounds. She let herself look frumpy, bitter, and mean. Audiences who knew her as a great beauty were shocked, but it worked. The film got 13 Oscar nominations and won 5. She took home her second Best Actress Oscar. All 4 main actors were nominated, something that had never happened before. The raw, brutal story about a broken marriage broke every rule in American cinema. Decades later, in 2013, the Library of Congress preserved it as a treasure of culture and history. That film proved Elizabeth was willing to risk everything for her art off-screen. Her life was just as intense. Her marriage to Richard Burton was filled with wild fights that left even friends speechless. Burton wrote in his diary about a 1969 fight. Taylor, drunk and furious, smashed him in the head with her ringed fingers. He said, "If any man had done that, I'd have killed him." Their arguments were brutal. She accused him of everything drunkenness, lies, pride, greed. Their love was fierce, but their fights were fiercer. Friends often didn't know whether to step in or run away. Alcohol fueled much of their pain. Burton wrote how Taylor would go. to bed stoned, talking in a baby voice like a crazy child. They started drinking at breakfast and didn't stop until they passed out at night. Taylor later admitted she mixed Jack Daniels with Demerol in the hospital. She said it left her higher than a kite. Conversations were impossible. She was too out of it to follow. Their drinking nearly destroyed them. By June 1974, the first divorce came. Burton was heartbroken. He wrote, "This woman is my life." Their split made headlines around the world, but they couldn't stay apart. 16 months later, they remarried in Botswana. Taylor wore green with feathers. Burton wore red socks and a red shirt. The ceremony took 20 minutes. They toasted with champagne by the river. The world hoped it meant peace at last, but the cracks showed fast. That second marriage fell apart in under 9 months. By February 1976, they were separated. The divorce came in July. The same old problems, booze, jealousy, explosive fights returned. No amount of passion could save them. After that, Burton married twice more before dying in 1984. Taylor married 2 more times. Their story became a legend of love that couldn't last. Taylor's next marriage was to John Warner in 1976. At first, she helped his Senate run. Crowds came out just to see her, but life in Washington bored and isolated her. She felt trapped, left behind as Warner focused on politics. She rebelled quietly, like wearing purple to a Republican ladies' lunch when told not to. She called that time boring and lonely. By December 1981, they separated. The divorce came in November 1982. Her health and spirit fell apart during that marriage. The depression hit hard. She gained weight, and people gossiped about it. Worse, she turned more to pills and drink. From 1983 to 1988, 3 doctors gave her 1,000 prescriptions for 28 drugs. The doses were so extreme that an expert who reviewed them thought she must be dead. She mixed whiskey with Demerol. She took sleeping pills and Valium at night. She'd wake up confused, walking into walls. She said herself, without help she would have died. The help came from her family. Her kids, her brother, and Roddy McDowell staged an intervention. They begged her to get help. She agreed after one last night. In December 1983, she checked into the Betty Ford Center. She stayed 7 weeks. She admitted the truth. "I'm Elizabeth. I'm an addict and an alcoholic." It humbled her. She shared a room. She did chores. But it saved her, and it inspired many others to get help, too. Through it all, Taylor revealed something few guessed. She drank because she was shy. She said, "I'm terribly shy. I drink for courage." But the booze that helped her talk left her feeling worse. She drank heavily without seeming drunk, which only made her dependency deeper. For more than 50 years, 40 hours of Elizabeth Taylor's most private thoughts sat forgotten in an attic. From 1964 to 1965, journalist Richard Merriman recorded these deeply personal interviews while ghostwriting her memoir. He had captured her raw voice on tape during their sessions at the Beverly Hills Hotel, on ships crossing the Atlantic, and in rooms filled with smoke and secrets. The tapes were never meant for the world to hear. After Merriman died in 2015, his widow found the recordings hidden among his things. By 2019, the Taylor estate finally got them back. In 2024, those same tapes became the heart of the HBO documentary Elizabeth Taylor. The lost tapes. For the first time, people could hear Taylor as she truly was, unguarded, emotional, and real. Elizabeth Taylor had no idea anyone beyond Merriman would ever hear what she said. Over 40 hours of conversation, she opened up in ways no one expected. Again and again, she would pause and tell him, "That's off the record." Or, "You can't use that in the book." She thought she had control. That's why she spoke so freely. The tapes reveal her regrets over failed marriages, the heartbreak with Eddie Fisher, and the pain that came with fame. She spoke about private moments with James Dean and the horror of abuse during her first marriage, stories she kept out of her published memoir. The documentary's director, Nanette Burstein, explained that Taylor would never have shared these truths if she'd known the world would one day listen. Alcohol played its part, too. Champagne, whiskey, and cocktails were constant companions during the interviews. Whether in hotel suites, nightclubs, or even on a houseboat, the glasses clinked and the smoke swirled. The drinks helped break down walls. They made Taylor laugh, cry, and confess with brutal honesty. The sessions became more than interviews. They were a glimpse into a star's lonely, pressured world. Each sip seemed to wash away the mask, leaving the real woman behind. You could almost feel the mood sitting across from her at a table littered with empty glasses as she spilled the secrets of a life lived under the spotlight. Beneath the surface, Taylor battled her own demons. She admitted feeling like a fraud, even when the world saw her as one of the most beautiful women alive. She told Merriman that inside she felt like a terrified little girl, forced too early into a grown-up world. She doubted her beauty and felt ashamed that people admired her for it. The scandals, the 8 marriages to 7 men, the headlines, they all made her feel like she represented something wrong. Her first marriage left deep scars, ending with abuse and a heartbreaking miscarriage. Behind the glamour, she carried the heavy burden of a childhood shaped by studios and fame. What stands out most is how Taylor described herself. She said she lived as 2 people. There was the Elizabeth Taylor her family knew, a flesh and blood woman. And there was the other Elizabeth Taylor, the one she called cellophane. That was the product, the Hollywood creation seen by millions, but known by none. This split kept her going. The real Elizabeth longed for love and a normal life. The cellophane. Elizabeth smiled for the cameras and endured the gossip. Even her assistant, Tim Mendelsohn, saw how clearly she kept these 2 sides apart. In 1985, the world was gripped by fear. AIDS was spreading fast, and people didn't understand it. That year, Elizabeth Taylor's close friend Rock Hudson died from the disease. It changed her forever. While most stars stayed silent or far away from the crisis, Taylor chose a different path. She spoke up. She co-founded AMFR, the Foundation for AIDS Research, in 1985. She used her fame to shine a light on a disease many feared. But Taylor didn't just talk. She worked. She helped raise nearly $325 million for research. She supported over 2,000 scientists around the world. In 1991, she set up the Elizabeth Taylor AIDS Foundation to give direct care to patients. Her efforts saved lives. She didn't just raise money. She changed how people saw AIDS and those who lived with it. At a time when most ran away, Taylor stepped forward. AIDS was surrounded by fear and hate. Many stars avoided it. But Taylor was different. Dr. Mervyn Silverman of AMFAR said she was like the lone star when others fled. She visited patients. She led fundraisers. She even spoke before Congress demanding help. She fought against unfair policies like the 1987 U.S. visa ban for people with HIV. She risked her own reputation, but she didn't care. She forced the world to see the truth. She made people care about those who were sick. Her courage made her a leader in celebrity activism. Taylor wasn't just a star on screen. She was a smart businesswoman. In 1987, she launched Passion, her first perfume. In 1991 came White Diamonds. That perfume became a giant success. By 2018, White Diamonds made $1.5 billion. Taylor helped shape the modern celebrity perfume. Business. She was involved in every part of it, from the smell to the ads. Her perfume line made her richer than acting ever did. When she died, her estate was worth between $600 million and $1 million. Even now, 20% of White Diamond sales go to her AIDS Foundation. Taylor showed that business could also help people. Her last marriage was unlike any before. She met Larry Fortensky at the Betty Ford Clinic. He was 20 years younger, a construction worker. They both were fighting their demons in rehab. In 1991, they married at Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch. It was big news. The media covered every detail, but the pressure was too much. They divorced in 1996. Fortensky got $1 million in the settlement, and later $800,000 in her will. Their love was real, simple, without the glitz of Hollywood. Even in her later years, Taylor followed her heart. She lived by her own rules. Elizabeth Taylor died on March 23, 2011. She was 79. She passed at Cedars-Sinai Hospital in Los Angeles with her 4 children by her side. Her death marked the end of a golden era. She was more than a movie star. She was a fighter, a giver, a legend. Her estate, between $600 million and $1 billion, showed how much she achieved beyond the screen. People around the world mourned her. They remembered her passion and her heart. Her foundation still fights HIV/AIDS today.